Okay, welcome everybody. The recording is live, so that means we are live now with our talk here. So what I want to do today, fat loss is a common goal for many people. Obviously, if we're all on this call, we're probably interested in fat loss. And fat loss is one of those things that some people are looking to achieve like their entire adult life. We're always looking to lose fat. And we go through many different diets, restrictions, kind of phases where we're trying to lose fat, but we haven't really gotten there yet. So what this intention for this call here today is to outline very simply how fat loss works, what fat loss is, and some of the things that you should be focusing on to achieve fat loss this year, but also going forward, moving beyond 2025. Because that's one of those things that I've been working online for 5+ years now. Jess and I have been working together for 4 years. We've worked with more than 1,000 clients, and we always see the fat loss, especially this time of year. The unsustainable attempts, the restrictive, the effect it has on our mental health, our physical health, and things like that. So we're here to show you what you need to be doing so that you can sustainably, safely, and happily meet your fat loss goals this year. So you don't have to keep worrying about it. So that sound good to everybody? Thumbs up. We all excited for it, ready to rock and roll? Jess, we looking good?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go ahead and get right into it then. I'm gonna just go ahead and start sharing my screen. So what we're gonna do is, I think I have like 10 to 13 slides or something. So just gonna start talking through things. Jess is gonna be monitoring the chat with me. If there's any questions, we can certainly answer those questions as they arise, but there will also be a Q&A at the end of this call. We expect this call to take about 45 minutes to an hour, and we're reserving at least 10 minutes to go over any questions that you might have about fat loss or anything we talked about here today. So in the meantime, if you have questions that arise, just raise your hand or pop them into the chat, and we'll address them. Or we might just say, hey, we're going to cover that, or let's wait for after the discussion, and then we'll continue the questions. So let's share my screen. Hey, we're getting off without a hitch today. Usually we have some type of tech problems, but
don't jinx it, Matt.
First Friday of the year, we're turning a new page. Look at us go. You guys can see my screen okay?
Yeah, we can see it.
Rock and roll. Okay, so achieving your fat loss goals in 2025 and beyond. So you might have seen recently that the Facebook group that you're all a part of, we've been doing the Facebook group since 2020 or so. And we've gone through a couple of reiterations, revamps of that Facebook group, kind of as we grow as a business and company and coaches. So recently we renamed our Facebook group. It used to be called Fit Fat Training, helping lifelong dieters conquer all or nothing thinking so they can achieve their fat loss goals. That's a tongue twister, and that's still something we help people with. But what we're really starting to more focus on is the mindset's important, and the all or nothing thinking is definitely important. But we're also looking at, let's be healthy beyond the scale. We want to be strong beyond the scale. So many times, the old diet culture saying from like the 90s and Weight Watchers and things like that is like, nothing tastes as good as skinny feels, right? Or strong, or skinny is beautiful, and things like that. But you know what? Strong is healthy. And so we're here to help you understand and realize what strength and health beyond the scale looks like by focusing on nutrition beyond the calories. Okay, we've all focused on the calories for how many years? We've been focusing on calories in, calories out. Got to check the calories. How many macros do I need? All this other stuff, right? We've been doing those things. So now it's time for us to start looking beyond the calories and start looking at the things that actually matter for fat loss. If we're talking about sustainable fat loss, because yes, calories matter for fat loss. But they're not the end all be all. Okay, so let's get into it. First, I want to start by kind of defining what fat loss is. Okay, fat loss at a very high level is simply reducing our body fat percentage while maintaining our lean mass, which is our muscle mass and our bones, essentially. And that's one of the things that we get wrong as a society. When we want to lose fat, what we actually talk about, right, is, oh, I want to lose weight. I'm not going on fat loss diet. I'm going on a weight loss diet, right? Well, there's a problem with that, because when you're losing fat, you're losing fat. That's it. right? You're just losing body fat. But when you're losing weight, it can be other things as well. It can be that bone density. It can be the muscle mass. Okay, so fat loss is just a reduction in our body fat, whereas weight loss is an overall reduction in our body weight, which can and does include body fat, but it can also include bone density and losing muscle. And we don't want to do those things. That now we just lost body weight and we're unhealthy. We're less healthy as a result of that. Okay. So that's what we're here to help you kind of understand is that difference and what actually matters. And weight loss can also be things that aren't necessarily detrimental to your health by losing bone or losing muscle mass, but just simply losing weight can be water weight. Okay. We can lose water weight easily. Go to the bathroom. You just lost water weight. You just lost weight, right? Go eat some food. You just gained weight. So that's why we as a company and coaches, we like to talk about fat loss and weight loss because that is undeniable, objective fat loss, okay? Because the numbers on the scale don't necessarily tell that whole story, right? This little image right here, one of our clients from a few years ago, actually, I love this image. She posted this into our private face chat in our app. This is what she did. She's like, I've lost 20 pounds working with you guys. That's what 20 pounds of fat looks like. Okay. That's a substantial amount of body fat. That's no longer around your organs. That's no longer causing you harm, especially if it's stored in that midsection, right? But that's not weight. In fact, this client, I don't remember the exact numbers, but she lost 20 pounds of fat, but she did not lose 20 pounds of weight. It was more like 5 to 10 pounds, okay? Which that's really awesome if you think about it. So we're talking about fat loss and weight loss. She lost 20 pounds of fat, but she only lost, about 10 pounds. So that means she gained 10 pounds somehow, somewhere. Well, probably with some, maybe some food, but mostly with building muscle. She was able to build muscle mass while losing body fat. And she's healthier and stronger as a result of that. So numbers on the scale aren't the end all be all, and they don't tell the whole story. Okay. Does that make sense to everybody? We've all done that, right? Gone on a weight loss journey. We lose weight right away, especially in January. We lose 30 pounds in January. We're motivated as fuck. And then that 30 pounds is not sustainable because we just lost all the 30 pounds that we had in our body in the form of extra water weight, in the form of extra food, poop, even things like that. Literally, that's what we're talking about when we're talking about weight loss is you can literally go number 2, and that was weight, okay? So we want to stop looking at just weight loss. So the age-old question then, how do we lose fat? Okay. Well, fat loss is very, very simple, but simple does not mean easy. Don't get pissed off. Don't get upset with me. Okay. Fat loss is simple in theory. In practicality, applying it to your life, it can be one of the hardest things you ever do. Okay. So that's what we're here to do today is to simplify it and make this more sustainable for you. So fat loss is determined by our energy balance. Has anybody ever heard that term before, energy balance? Some people have not. Okay, great. So we're learning something here today already. So energy balance, think about homeostasis. Our body craves homeostasis, which is balance. Your body wants all things to be balanced inside of it. So we are constantly using energy. We're expending energy constantly, and we're constantly bringing in energy. Right now, I'm talking to you all. I'm expending energy. See how I'm talking with my hands? Being very animated, I'm using energy right now, okay? Your body requires energy to survive. So I'm using energy. So all the food that I'm eating right now, I had a banana before this to fuel my body and fuel my brain for this presentation. My body is now using that as energy to help me move and to talk with you all, okay? So when your body doesn't get enough energy to survive, to maintain itself, that is when your body will then turn to your energy storages inside of your body. So your energy storages are your body fat, okay? So if we think about body fat, that is stored excess energy. That's all that is, okay? So when your body doesn't get enough energy to survive, your body will say, hey, I got to get energy from somewhere. What is available to me? Well, the most readily accessible form of energy available to us is usually carbohydrates, the food that we eat in our diet every single day, and then also our body fat. Okay, so how do we get our body to dip into that body fat for energy? Well, we got to get into a calorie deficit. Okay, so when you give your body more energy than it needs for your activity levels, you're going to be in a calorie surplus. So that's when you're going to be gaining fat. And I talked about, more energy than your body needs for your activity levels. And that's a really good way of kind of looking at fat loss. What do I need to give my body energy for? Okay. If I'm not moving, if I'm moving 2,000 steps a day, if I'm not strength training, if I'm not doing these things, I'm not going to need a lot of energy to maintain my body. And that's really where kind of as a society, we get things wrong. We're just trying to cut calories to lose fat and to lose weight right away. We're not actually taking the time to learn how to fuel our body so that it's operating optimally, so that it makes fat loss a lot easier, essentially. Does that make sense? Hell yeah. Jess, do we have any comments or anything, questions yet?
No, not yet.
Sweet. So energy balance. We're going to dive into energy balance a little bit here then. I love talking about this graph right here. So when we talk about energy, the energy we are expending every single day. So there's two parts to a calorie deficit. You might have heard it called calories in, calories out, also known as like KICO. So that simply means calories in, calories out. If your calories are in less, if your calories in are less than the amount of calories that you're expending, calories out, in theory, you'll lose body weight and body fat. Okay. The four things impact that. And I trust me, I've worked with 1,000+ women, and this is really where we get things wrong from the start. Okay. So this is a graph of how much energy our bodies use every single day. What is the first thing you guys usually try to do when you try to lose weight or body fat, like to start the new year? Just looking for a couple of volunteers here. Maybe in the past, traditional weight loss attempts, what are some of the first things you do?
Severely
Cut calories.
restrict calories.
Severely cut calories. Anything else in conjunction
Increase
with
cardio.
Increase cardio. Yeah, that's one of the most common things we do. We start doing cardio and exercising more in order to lose fat. I love those answers. Great answers, guys. So this here is the graph of how much actually energy your body's using every day. All the way at the top, it's called TEF, the thermic. That's thermic effect of feeding is at the top, but it's actually thermic effect of exercise activity is what we're talking about there. That's not a very lot of calories that we're burning every single day. Okay, so using exercise to lose fat is not a great strategy. So I want you guys to start thinking about reframing why we're exercising. Rather than a weight loss tool or a fat loss tool, exercising is a health tool. It's a physical health tool. It's a mental health tool. It's a coping skill. It's a skill. It's a tool to help you feel like a badass, to help you feel strong, to help you improve your blood pressure, your type 2 diabetes, your cholesterol, whatever it might be. Exercise is great for that, but not really for weight loss, for fat loss. Okay, and if you are doing the unsustainable crash dieting attempts that we've always done in the past, and we start doing more cardio right away, you will see a substantial amount of weight loss right away. I can guarantee you that, because your body is getting rid of the excess water weight. Now, I want to see excess water weight, but it's just getting rid of stored body weight. You're burning through your glycogen storages, okay? And you're just really just burning off a bunch of water and food, essentially what you're doing. So you'll see that dramatic drop right away. But then what happens? Within a couple of weeks, we hit that wall. We plateau. We can no longer exercise the fat away. We can no longer exercise the weight away because your body already adapted to it. So as a weight loss tool to lose weight, not a great tool, but exercise is great for long-term weight loss maintenance. Okay, big difference. So if you're thinking about weight loss maintenance, and that's also where a lot of people go wrong with weight loss, is we don't learn how to maintain. Excellent weight loss maintenance tool, exercise is, but for intentional weight loss and fat loss, not great. And we'll get into that a little bit. So the main thing, the biggest thing that our body is doing every day to expend energy is called our BMR. So you guys might, you refer to this as your metabolism. Okay. Who here has said, I can't lose fat, I've got a low metabolism, right? Probably all of us. Well, the reality is it's not just your metabolism. Your metabolism accounts for about 65% of the energy and the calories that you're burning every single day. 65%. That's a lot. Okay. There's some things that you can do to kind of manipulate your metabolism, but for the most part, our metabolisms are pretty stable, especially until we start aging, until about the age of 65 or so. Metabolism is relatively stable throughout the decade. So when I hear I can't lose weight because of my metabolism, I'm like, all right, we need to dive into why you think that is. And a lot of times our metabolism can be lower, and we'll get into that a little bit, but it's because of our own doing. Because what I talked about earlier, where we were focusing on weight loss and not fat loss, maybe we lost some of that muscle mass. Maybe we lost some of that bone density. So when we lose muscle mass and bone density, guess what? There's not enough of you, or there's not as much of your body for your body to maintain. So if we think about our metabolism, that's how much energy our body is burning every single day to keep us alive. If we were to sleep all day, if we're in a coma, your body's still going to be needing to keep you alive and function. So that's what your baseline metabolism is. And when you have less muscle, less bone density, there's not as much of you to maintain. So your metabolism goes down. And we also see this, to be fully transparent, we also see this with fat loss. This is a normal process as well. But when you lose body fat, your metabolism will go down a little bit as well, just because there's simply not as much of you to maintain. It's not a bad thing. It's called metabolic adaptation. But there are some things we can do to minimize that risk and minimize the impact that metabolic adaptation can have on us. And one of the biggest things we can do is sustainably, slowly lose fat and stopping the crash dieting, but then also to build a lot of muscle. And the earlier we can start building muscle, the better. So the second biggest component of how many energy, how many calories and how much energy our body needs every single day is our NEAT. This is a cool little acronym. It's kind of newer. Since about the 90s, this acronym has kind of been floating around. Has anybody ever heard NEAT? A lot of our clients definitely have. Non-exercise activity thermogenesis. So that is the second most amount of energy that our body burns every single day. So I was talking earlier with my hands and talking about how that uses energy. That is what NEAT is. It's all of the energy that our body expends every single day that is not intentional exercise or eating related. Okay, so that's things like walking your dog, going to the grocery store, running errands, cleaning the house, doing chores, things like that, talking with your hands, fidgeting. Actually, people like with ADHD, fidgeters like me, we actually have a higher baseline metabolism because we just don't stop moving, you know? So that's NEAT, non-exercise activity thermogenesis. This is the biggest variable that we can manipulate to help us lose fat long-term. And it's one of the easiest variables for us to manipulate. You can't really manipulate your metabolism, like I said. There's a few things you can do, but it's more of a longer, slower time thing that you're not going to really notice right away. But your NEAT, you have direct control of how much you are moving every single day. Okay, so let's say you're moving 2,000 steps per day, 3,000 steps per day. Jessica said increasing your NEAT is a game changer. Absolutely. I'm going to tell you why. Right now, the data is showing that the average American moves 3,000 to 4,000 steps per day. That's not very high. Okay. So if we can get that number up higher, maybe double that, there goes your NEAT. Your overall movement just doubled. Okay. You're burning a lot more energy now. So that's like anywhere from 20 to 30% of your daily calorie burn is from doing the things that are not, exercise or eating related. And that's why I want you to start thinking about is reframing fat loss to your daily habits, and your daily movements are more important than the exercise you're doing. Actually, okay, so start thinking about it like that. So when you aren't moving as much, when your NEAT is lower, you're not sending as much energy, and your metabolism is then lower as a result of that. Okay, the third biggest component of how many calories we burn every single day is called the thermic effect of food, TEF. Did you guys know that your body burns energy to digest food and to eat food? That's pretty cool. And the really good news is when we eat protein has the highest thermic effect of food. Okay, so I'm a nerd, and I want to give you some data or some numbers here. If you take 100 calories of protein, 100 calories of carbs, and 100 calories of fat, does anybody have any guess which one of those is going to burn the most food, burn the most calories? Cheryl.
I'm going to say protein.
Protein, absolutely. Protein has a thermic effect of 20 to 30%. So what does that mean? Well, that means for every 100 calories that you are consuming, 70 to 80 of those calories are going to be absorbed by your body. Your body's going to be using 20 to 30 of those calories just to break down and digest that protein. That's really fucking cool. Because we look at something like carbohydrates has a thermic effect of something like 5 to 10%. So for that same 100 calories of carbs that you just ate, you only burn 5 to 10 calories to digest that food. And fat is even lower. Literally, like your body doesn't take almost any energy to break down and use fat. It's like 0 to 1%. Okay. So all things the same, if we are currently eating 1,500 calories of carbohydrates, swapping that around to eating 1,500 calories of protein, and you're going to be burning a lot more energy, a lot more calories throughout the day, making fat loss a lot easier. That doesn't mean carbohydrates are bad. We're going to get into the role that carbohydrates has in fat loss. Does all that make sense? Is that pretty cool stuff? I love it. This is the stuff that matters. Just, I saw there's a question. Is that a question that we should take right now?
Yeah, this is a question. We can pause for a second. Amber has asked, so I do have a question. Is it true that red meat takes 6 weeks to digest, and and is that a good thing or a bad thing? I was told to stay away from red meat. I have studied nutrition for 5 years. I have a master's in nutrition, and I've never heard in my life that it takes 6 weeks to digest red meat. So I'm gonna go ahead and say no.
Somebody's blowing something up your butt is what they're
Yeah.
doing. Think about it. 6 weeks of food just sitting in your body, that's rancid. That's not going to happen.
Yeah.
That's not going to
A
happen.
lot of time people say to stay away from things like red meat and things like that, because there's been a few studies that show you need to limit your amount of red meat intake because it can, things like cardiovascular and such like that. But guys, you'd be having to eat like a lot of red meat for that to happen. And let's be honest, red meat is expensive. So no one here is eating that much red meat that they would need to limit or stay away. And in fact, like the nutrients you get from red meat, especially iron and things like that, is really healthy, and you need it for a healthy diet. So yeah, I would suggest a rule of thumb, anyone that gives you a very like blank statement, like stay away from this, usually that's not very accurate, because no nutritionist or dietitian will ever say stay away from this unless you're allergic to it. So just like a rule of thumb there.
Yeah, and I hear you, Amber. Your doctor, your doctor told you that, and I don't want to disparage doctors. Let me be very clear. But is your doctor specialized in nutrition? Because most doctors get like 4 hours of nutrition education. Yeah. Okay, just 4 years master's degree plus whatever extra training, clinicals and things like that. Dietitians, for instance, we have 2 dietitians on our team, 4+ years of training. Now they have to have a master's degree, if I'm not mistaken, plus 1,200 hours of clinicals. Okay, dietitians are who we should be relying on for nutrition information, and we have 2 of them on our team.
Also, like with your doctor, if he said things like, if your iron levels, if you need to be paying attention to your iron levels, if he's trying to reduce down your cholesterol ever so slightly and he's suggesting to stay away from it that way, then maybe. But, there might have been
another fat loss or the undigested food thing.
If it's to do with fat loss or something to do with your digestion, unless you have a specific concern with your digestion, then I would say maybe have a look at other sources, Amber.
Yeah, sure. See if you can get a referral to a team or to a registered dietitian. Even on our team, we actually our registered dietitian, Kristen, she can accept insurance, and for some from some states, not all of them, and things like that. So if you need a good referral, that we could definitely help you out there too.
Yeah. I'm just going to drop in some examples of NEAT into the chat as well.
Awesome.
For anybody that needs some extra ideas on how you can increase your NEAT every day.
I love that. And while Jess is doing that, I'm going to go into fat loss myths, because this is a really good a segue, actually. We've probably all heard these myths. I'm not going to cover too much time on these. I just want to say, hey, guys, this is all bunk. This is bullshit. You've all been told this stuff. but where has it gotten you? You've probably done all of these things and believed all these things at one point or another. Myth number one, carbohydrates make you fat. No. As I covered earlier, the only thing that makes you fat is consuming more energy than your body can use every single day. It's impossible to gain fat any other way. Myth number two, sugar makes you fat. No, it doesn't. Again, the only thing that makes you fat is too many calories for your activity levels. Now, should we look at how much sugar we're consuming? Absolutely. We should definitely look at how much sugar we're consuming, but you can eat nothing but sugar. This has been done, okay? Not recommending that you do it, but you can eat nothing but sugar and still lose body fat and body weight. Terrible idea for your health, but it's technically possible. That's not what we're about here, though. Another myth, number three, cardio is the best for fat loss. No, cardio is can be a fat loss tool. And I actually talk about it here a little bit later, but cardio is not the best for fat loss because nutrition is the driver for fat loss. Anybody telling you anything else? If you want to lose fat, start doing this exercise, red flag, block, unfollow, do whatever you need to do. They're already misleading you right away. Myth number four, we talked about this one already. Your metabolism is broken. I can't lose fat. My metabolism is broken. My metabolism is low, blah, blah, blah. Okay, that is a myth. Your metabolism is relatively stable from the age of like 18 to 19 years old, all the way up through the age of 65. There's variations, extremes on each end, high end, low end, absolutely. But the research is very clear. Man or woman, does not matter. Metabolisms are relatively stable until we start really aging, okay? So along that line, your age is why you can't lose fat. Bullshit. Cheryl, can I pick on you? Cheryl, how old are you?
I am 68. We'll be 69 this year in July.
69 years young.
Yikes.
Awesome. Are you able to lose fat right now, Cheryl?
Slowly.
Slowly, but
Yeah.
you're doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Age is not why you guys can't lose fat, okay? The reason why we think that is because of the things I was talking about earlier, you know, with the chronic dieting and the lower metabolism as a result of being under muscled and under moving and things like that, okay? Another myth. I've been hearing this one a lot more lately. Fruit makes you fat. Yes, it's the strawberries and the grapes that are making us fat. Even though fruit is loaded in micronutrients and fiber and all this good stuff that it's health promoting. I don't know anybody has ever gotten fat eating strawberries. You can eat a watermelon this big and it's like 500 calories. Nobody's getting fat doing that. I promise you. Show me one person that has said, I got fat from from eating fruit, and would say, you're a liar. Show it, prove it. It didn't happen, okay? Myth, eating late at night makes you fat. No, again, the only thing that makes you fat, consuming more calories. It does not matter when you eat the calories, okay? Now, it does matter when you eat the calories to promote healthy habits and for your digestion and to feel good. And you don't want to be eating cake at 11 o'clock at night, most nights probably, right? But if you ate cake at 11 o'clock at night, but you were still in a calorie deficit for that day or that week, guess what? Your ass ain't getting fat, okay? If you never heard me talk or done one of my trainings before, welcome, because we are very animated and we love to swear. So what does matter for fat loss? Let's break it down. Calories matter for fat loss. Calories are king for fat loss, okay? This is non-negotiable. I don't care who you are, who you think you are, you must consume fewer calories than you burn in order to lose fat. You need to come to understanding to this, okay? You need to understand. That's why we're simplifying it in the way that we are. You need to understand that it's calories that dictate fat loss, fat gain, okay? That's all that's important though. So calories are the most important thing. I don't care how perfect your diet is, how clean your diet is. If you're eating nothing but fruits, vegetables, and lean protein, if you consume too much of it, you will get fat, period. This is the best part about fat loss because hearing these things and when it finally clicks for you, it's liberating. It's freedom. Like, oh my God, I can eat Snickers and still lose fat and be healthy? Hell yeah, you can. Let's do it. Okay. Well then, how can we apply fat loss to your own life? Let's talk about it. Balanced nutrition. Okay. We need to create a calorie deficit with our nutrition that is high in protein and high in fiber. A couple of reasons for that. Okay. One, what I talked about earlier with protein being higher, having a higher thermic effect of food. So when we are consuming, 1,500 calories of food, but if our body is expending a lot of that because we're eating protein, that's going to make it a lot easier. Okay, and it's also because protein is very satiating, super satiating. Okay, you ever heard of the meat sweats? You ever had the meat sweats after going to a barbecue place? You eat the brisket, the pulled pork, all the good things. And you're like, ugh, meat sweats. That's called the thermic effect of food. And you also overate. But the thermic effect of food is literally your body is warming up to digest and break down that food. You can literally feel the science happening. It's really cool. So protein is very satiating because it takes your body a little bit longer to break it down, and it has to work a little bit harder to break it down, right? So Amber asked about the 6 weeks of digestion for the red meat. Well, it doesn't quite take six weeks, right? But it does take a little bit longer for your body to digest that food, which is really cool because that's, if you're talking about, we're in a fat loss boxing match. Hit them with a high protein meal, and you just you hit them with a high protein meal. That's going to hurt, right? So there's a lot of energy behind that. Essentially, it's going to keep you satisfied. So if we're talking about fat loss being a boxing match, 1-2 punch, protein, fiber. Okay, protein, fiber. So with a high protein diet, with in conjunction with a high fiber diet, that's 1-2 punch for managing your hunger and keeping yourself satisfied and keeping your cravings at bay and helping you to stay satisfied in between meals, right? So we're not mindlessly snacking. So we're not overeating late at night. This is one of the most common things I see in our fat loss clients. They hit their calorie goals, but protein is 60 grams a day, fiber is 5 grams a day, just throwing that out there. And they're like, why am I so fucking hungry all the time? Well, because the food you're eating is burning right through you. Your body is using it right away because it has no substance, it has no volume, it has no depth, it has no nutrients. So we want to eat more food that is lower in calorie, higher protein, higher fiber, loaded in micronutrients. Okay, that doesn't mean, I want to be very clear, that doesn't mean you can't eat things like ice cream, donuts, cake, and things like that, but we just don't want to be eating as much of it, essentially. Okay. What else matters for fat loss? If we can start applying this to our own life, well, strength training, okay? Building and preserving muscle mass is one of the best things you can do for long-term sustainable fat loss, okay? Short-term, not great because it takes time and consistency to build muscle. You can't go to the gym for a month and build any significant amount of muscle, okay? But you can go to the gym for a year straight and you can build 6 to 7 pounds, maybe even more, especially if you've never strength trained before, okay? So it takes time, but strength training is one of the best tools in your arsenal for long-term fat loss, but also overall health, okay? So we want to build and maintain as much muscle as possible. That's why we need to stop doing things like the restrictive dieting, the chronic dieting, 1,200 calories, okay? Please stop doing the 1,200 calories, the 1,000 calories. You are hungry, right? You're hungry on 1,000 calories, on 1,200 calories. Why? Well, you're not eating enough protein. You're not eating enough fiber. How can you when you're only eating 1,200 calories a day? It is next to impossible to eat a balanced diet when you're eating like a bird, okay? Next to impossible. Cardiovascular exercise, okay? I did say that exercise is not a great tool for fat loss short term, but for long term it is, okay? Because we're going to be increasing our activity levels, we're going to be in better health, we're going to be able to push ourselves harder in the gym, but also in the meantime it does boost our calorie expenditure, okay? Especially when we do more higher intensity cardio like sprints and things like that, our body is elevated a little bit longer after we do those types of exercises. It's called like the afterburn, essentially. So doing higher intensity cardio will burn more calories in the interim then too. So strength training, okay, let's do 2 to 4 days a week. So write that down, 2 to 4 days a week. If you're doing 2 days a week, do 2 full body days a week. 4 days a week, do something like an upper body, lower body, lower body day, okay? And then, you could do 1 to 2 sessions of higher intensity cardio for just 5 to 10 minutes, okay? I see this a lot with exercise classes, high intensity cardio exercise classes that are 60 minutes long. What are we doing to ourselves? Why are we doing that to ourselves? Okay, no. You'd be better off doing 10 to 15 minutes of high intensity cardio and then spending 45 minutes strengthening your body, okay? Mindful eating is so imperative to successful fat loss that we have literally redesigned our entire business this last year to make mindful eating a bigger emphasis for our clients, because it's our belief that mindful eating is a foundation and a prerequisite for long-term sustainable fat loss. So that means paying attention to our body's hunger and fullness cues. Jess, can you talk just a minute here about mindful eating and what it really means in the context of fat loss and how these, everybody can start applying it?
Yeah, so one common denominator that most people have when they're on a fat loss journey is they have been victim to diet culture, restrictive diets, and kind of going about it in the wrong way in terms of not by any fault of our own. Again, diet culture is really, really good at what they do. And so it kind of has this approach of like just reaching that fat loss goal as quickly as possible and totally ignoring everything else, including our relationship with food. So mindful eating is a way in which we repair or work on our relationship with food by being a little bit more conscious and tuned in to what we're eating, why we're eating, how that makes us feel, our hunger fullness levels as well. And that really makes us a lot better at making a choice around our food, right? So rather than just eating for the sake of it, we're actually eating because we want to, we're making these choices. An example of this is, even in a calorie deficit, there's going to be peaks and troughs, right? So you're going to have a calorie deficit range in general anyway. It's not going to be you have to hit this exact target every single day. There's going to be a little bit of wiggle room above and below. How mindful eating fits into this is that, you might be eating your dinner, and that might be a certain amount of calories. Okay. And this is what we see quite often is people feeling like pressured that they have to eat their whole plate of dinner to reach that exact amount of calories that they've set out for that day. But that really disconnects us from our hunger fullness cues. It disconnects us from our bodies. And again, it kind of fuels into that, we just got to do it because we have to do it for our fat loss. Whereas mindful eating is tuning in and saying, actually, no, I'm full. I don't want to eat the rest of this. Oh, I'm going to push the plate away. I'm going to finish it later, or I'm just going to throw it in the bin or whatever, right? So there's that. So maybe that day we might be slightly below on that calorie deficit range, for example. But maybe the next day or a day after or whatever, we're a little bit more hungry. You guys have probably had like hungrier days. We have them. We have hungrier days.
Normal.
Yeah, we don't know why. It might not be to do for any specific reasons. It might be also hormonal and things like that as well. There's a whole host of reasons. It doesn't really matter a whole lot. But we might be eating a little bit more that day, right? So that's honoring those hunger cues too, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm feeling more hungry today, so I'm giving myself permission to eat more. And what that does is it feeds into that ebb and flow of that homeostasis, that balance that Matt was talking about at the beginning, is with our relationship with food. That's also seeking homeostasis, right? Like we're not wanting to feel extremely full and extremely hungry all of the time. That's imbalanced. We're wanting to be in that sweet spot where we're satisfied. And the ebb and flow of that is less than what we're used to, the extremities of extremely full, extremely hungry, so on and so forth. So mindful eating allows us to be in that sweet spot with our relationship with food. Again, we have a whole program and course and we talk a lot on this. So this is a very brief overview on it. And if you haven't yet explored mindful eating in conjunction with your fat loss journey, I would highly recommend it because it really is the foundation for any sustainable.
We have tons of resources for free, by the way, for mindful eating as well. So anybody that wants those, just send us a message or comment now or after, okay?
Yeah.
Great information there, Jess.
And I think Lori mentioned here, eating to a number leaves you unsatisfied. Even if you hit a goal, it takes the joy out of eating. Yeah, exactly, Lori. Thanks for sharing that, because that's the other important thing that with our relationship with food, we eat for joy. We eat for pleasure, right? Food tastes good. And most of us here are foodies. I know I am. I get a lot of enjoyment with cooking it, eating out in restaurants. Why shouldn't we? And so tuning into more of that mindful experience with food allows us to actually build back in that joy that's been stripped because of diet culture telling us you shouldn't eat that, that's bad for you, you should only have this much, so on and so forth.
When you enjoy what you're eating and how you're eating and how you're moving your body, you're more likely to stick with it.
Exactly.
Period. So that's why mindful eating is so imperative, and having that healthy relationship with food is so imperative. I see many of our clients on here, they're all shaking their heads like, yep, that makes sense. I get it. I've lived it. I'm seeing it right now.
Yeah.
Okay, so managing hunger on a fat loss. We kind of talked about this a little bit. So I'm not going to spend too much more time on this, but there's some new stuff here to talk about. Okay, so again, if we're talking about managing hunger, because you will probably be hungry on a fat loss journey at some time. Now, there's a whole nother conversation for, is this physical hunger or is this a craving? What's going on there? That's the whole mindful eating component that you can start to learn by diving into these concepts and these ideas of fueling your body and repairing that relationship with food, okay? But for managing hunger, some of the best things you can do on a day-to-day basis, without getting too technical, increasing your protein, because that provides the most satiety than any other food. It slows digestion, which keeps you full for longer, but it also reduces the hunger hormone ghrelin, the little ghrelin goblin, okay? The ghrelin goblin is a hunger hormone. Jess, could you tell us a little bit about ghrelin?
Yeah, so we have two hunger hormones. We have ghrelin and leptin. Ghrelin tells us that we are hungry. Leptin tells us that we're full, okay? And so with things like protein and even like fiber and things like that, that is higher in satiety, it basically tells that kind of hunger hormone, you're good, you're full, you don't need any more, right? Other things impact our leptin and ghrelin as well, like sleep and things and stress and things like that as well. We are not going to go into that right now. That's just a side note.
Conversation for another day.
But yeah, these hunger hormones are there. They're normal as well if they are operating, like as in if your ghrelin and leptin are being triggered, it's normal, okay? And this is a thing about a lot of the time we hear about hunger hormones, even like cortisol, like all of these things reduced down, like these are normal bodily functions. Even things like feeling hungry, it's a normal bodily function. Yeah, so again, yeah, protein and things like that are important to
for managing those hunger more, again, balance, homeostasis, right?
Yeah,
these hormones, we talk about balancing hormones. That's impossible. Whoever's telling you balancing your hormones, unfollow, block, never talk to them again. Okay, your hormones aren't balanced. They're not meant to be balanced. Your hormones are always fluctuating and working.
It's always doing ebb and flow. It's just how all of the systems in our body function. There's a constant ebb and flow throughout every single bodily system that goes on behind the scenes that we're totally unaware of.
Yes. Great. So carbs, okay? We haven't talked much about carbs, but carbs are fucking awesome. We are team carbs here at Team Fit Fat, okay? We want you to eat the carbs. Carbs are great. They provide that immediate satisfaction. Fun fact, carbohydrates are your body's preferred energy source. That means your body wants carbohydrates. So when you start a fat loss diet, a weight loss diet, and you're like, nah, body, screw you. I'm not giving you what you need. What happens? Well, that hunger hormone ghrelin is running out of control. Leptin's running out of control. Your cortisol's running out of control. Right? Because you're not giving your body what it needs. Your body wants carbohydrates. Stop neglecting it. Okay.
Also, it's our brain's preferred source of energy as well, which is why if you guys have done keto before and you find your mood, people are kind of keeping their distance from you, or you're a little bit more ratty than usual.
It's not normal. Your body's telling you, hey, this isn't working.
Yeah, exactly. So it can cause, that's why people on keto and things can be a little bit more moody, because their brain isn't getting the energy that they need from carbohydrates. So it's an important one. It's a really important macronutrient.
Now there's two different types of carbs. Okay, I pointed out my banana peel here earlier. So there's simple carbs, complex carbs. Simple carbs are things like fruit, candy, things like that are not more easily digestible. The energy is not hard for your body to convert it into energy and use it. Both are important. Okay. I like to think about the quicker energy, right? For fueling your body for workouts, for movement. I eat this banana for brain fuel for this meeting, right? That's mindful eating. Okay. But then carbohydrates are also a great source of fiber. Okay. That's where fiber comes into play, is carbohydrates. And here's the reality is 95% of Americans are not eating enough fiber. And eating enough fiber is one of the best things we can do to improve our health, to manage our blood pressure, cholesterol, type 2 diabetes, metabolic rates issues, and things like that. Fiber is one of the best things we can do for that. So we want to eat more carbs that have fiber in them. So that means more foods like whole grains, vegetables, and things like that. Okay. Fats are also very, very important. Back in the 90s, we fell in love with low fat. How did that work out for all of us? Not very well. We did the low fat, and then we were probably doing keto at the same time, which is also really funny because completely opposite ends of the spectrum, but they also happen to be really popular at the same time. And maybe you did one or both right after each other. Really messing yourself up, okay? So fats provide the prolonged fullness. So I like to use this analogy, like for hiking and things like that. I love hiking, running, walking. Like a common fuel source we use for hiking, nuts and chocolate and like fruit and things like that, right? Well, the fat is like a big block of wood that we're throwing in on a campfire, and that big block of wood is going to slowly burn and sustain and provide energy and heat throughout the course of the night. It's the slow burner. That's what fats are. Okay, they provide that long-lasting energy, and they can help to prevent overeating, because all three of these things, these macros, protein, carbs, and fats, when you're consuming the right amounts for you, they all work together in managing that homeostasis, the balance, and keeping you satisfied and feeling good. Okay, so they're all important. That's why it pisses me off when I see coaches and programs demonizing one ingredient, one food group, one macronutrient. They're doing you a disservice. Okay.
On the note of fats, real quick as well, just something to note too, because there are certain fats that it is recommended just to be mindful of, to just limit the consumption of them. They're mostly like your saturated fats, like your oils and spreads, things like your fried foods and things like that. And that's primarily for like your cardiovascular health and that kind of stuff too. So when we think of fats, like a lot of the time we think, okay, all fat is bad. No, it's the same as, with like our carb, like all food, right? There's no like, this is all bad, this is all good. All is necessary in a blend of things. Yeah. But in terms of like your oils, spreads, things like that, just being mindful of the quantities that you're using, like in your cooking, or if you're like your butter on your bread or things like that. But
fats are more calorically dense, guys. So that's really for 1 gram of fat, there's 9 calories in it. Okay. For 1 gram of carbohydrates and 1 gram of protein, there's 4 calories. Okay. So that's not the fat is bad. We just need to moderate a little bit, but it is also, fat is important for women, especially because fat is, it's like a transport for vitamins, and it helps to transport the vitamins in your body through your bloodstream. So your body can use those vitamins and minerals. So fat helps to maintain healthy hormones.
Yeah.
And women are more susceptible and bothered by low fat than men are. So I'm sorry about that, guys. So some barriers for successful fat loss. Just want to spend a few minutes talking about these here. Jess, could you why is our emotional and stress eating a barrier?
So a lot of time, well, for most of us, like emotional and stress eating is a barrier for fat loss. Is our fat loss journey is underpinned by our mindset, right? Like it's our thoughts, feelings, emotions around food. And a lot of the time we have these barriers because we end up having an unhealthy relationship with food. Maybe we lean on food to manage emotions. It's that one size fits all. Or we struggle with stress eating and things like that. So it's that barrier because no matter how hard we try, it always feels like we fail. Right. And I hear this word a lot. We fail. Okay. I'm doing all of the things, but then as soon as nighttime rolls around, I'm in the fridge, I'm wandering downstairs, I'm overeating, and it's that barrier for that fat loss. Right. So if you find that emotional or stress eating is a barrier for your fat loss, I would suggest looking at that first before going into an actual fat loss phase. All right.
Absolutely.
So something like we often recommend for any of our mindful eating clients is to press a little pause button on tracking or fat loss for the time being, to give yourself that space to explore your emotional eating, your stress eating, and then then you're more open to, I mean, the
Develop
fat loss
skills
just happens.
and the foundation.
Yeah.
Right. So we're talking about sustainable fat loss. If we're struggling with emotional eating and stress eating, but also trying to lose fat, these are two competing ideas that are bumping
Yeah.
heads, and you're going to continue to struggle and spin your wheels. Okay. And it might seem like you're asking me to stop trying to lose fat for X amount of time. Well, yes, because that's actually going to save you time in the long run. It's called, we're working smarter and not harder, and we're not working against ourselves anymore.
Yeah.
So these are a lot of the common barriers. Sorry, Jess.
No, I was going to say as well, like things like your all or nothing mindset, fear of failure, negative self-talk, all of that kind of stuff is kind of wrapped in under that emotional stress eating. So the emotional stress eating is what we see on the surface as the barrier, but underneath there's likely other things that are in need of support that we might not even be aware of, right? Like even like that, fear of failure, that's something that comes up a lot, whereas like, oh, I've tried every diet in the book, nothing ever works. What's the point now? Right. And so it's that barrier where, we think, fuck it, what's the point? I'm just going to screw it, overeat, stress eat, because even of the stress of being on a diet, be it sustainable or not. So, this is why things like your mindful eating or taking a look at your relationship with food is so crucial in creating a successful fat loss journey, but also giving yourself the time to do that. If you guys are thinking that you're going to achieve these goals within a short period of time, like throw that idea out of just out, right? There's no place for it here. Give yourself time. And how much time? Well, how long is a piece of string? As much time as it takes. All right.
Well said. So these are a lot of the barriers for fat loss, right? It's more than just the food. You can try to just track your calories away to get the fat away, but if you're struggling with all these things, if you've been dieting your entire life, if you've never taken a diet break and actually tried to build muscle, if your food environment sucks, maybe that's not your fault, but you have poor nutrition, your mental health is suffering, you have physical limitations, and lack of community and lack of support is a big thing and as a barrier for fat loss as well. So I'm going to spend a few minutes here. We're going to do a Q&A, but I just want to share a few minutes about how we can help you with all of these things that we just talked about, overcoming these barriers for fat loss, helping you develop a sustainable fat loss plan that's going to work for 2025 and beyond. So I'm just going to spend a few minutes here, and then we're going to start opening up the room for questions. Okay. So we have our challenge coming up. You've probably seen me talk about it on social media and our Facebook group, but our challenge is a 35-day challenge designed to help you beat these resolutions and beat these short-term goals and find something sustainable. So I just want to share this message from Crystal that she gave us a while back after she completed one of our challenges. She said, "This is the longest I've stuck with any strength training and the first time I've had someone planning it out for me. And I think that contributes to my success. It takes the guesswork out of it, and you guys are accommodating and available when questions arise. I love the approach of the same routine for 4 weeks and even more, and that you give us the science and the why behind it." So using this approach, she was able to notice when she's able to move up to the next weight and make progress with her strength training and building muscle, which is important for that long-term fat loss. So as of this writing, she had been down 12.4 pounds, but she's actually 20 plus pounds down now as a result of that. So I definitely need to update that. But that's just with the help of one of our challenges that she did with us. She was able to figure this stuff out. And every time she does one of our challenges, she learns more and she continues making progress. Okay. So if this sounds cool, like, yeah, I actually do need a little bit of help. Well, here's how we'll kind of be helping and what you get when you join our challenge. Okay. You're getting a lot in our challenge. There's a full coaching experience. You're getting nutrition guidance. So how many calories do you need to lose fat? Well, our team registered dietitian will create a nutrition plan for you as part of our challenge. Okay. How do you work out? How do you build muscle? Well, you're getting a strength training plan. Okay. You're struggling with accountability. You need somebody to check in with. We're going to hold you accountable. Okay. You earn daily points and rewards for being accountable, for completing your goals, your daily habits, your movements, and things like that. You earn points. So we're incentivizing it for you. You track your progress in our app. You can track your steps, your body weight, your body measurements, your sleep, your workouts, nutrition, habits, goals. You can track everything in our app. Get a habit and an activity tracker. So when you join our challenge, we work on 3 habits with you for the entire month. These habits are going to be things, if fat loss is your goal, that is going to help you sustainably lose fat long term. Okay, maybe you want to lose fat. We will help you identify 3 habits that are going to help you lose fat long term. And you're going to track them in our app and you're going to get points for it. As part of our challenge, we also do a weekly training and accountability call, a variety of topics. It's really probably hard to see this here, so let me try to zoom in here a little bit. So some of our calls, we're doing our intro call with the entire team. You're getting 4 coaches guiding you in our challenge. Jess is doing a limiting yourself, smashing through your self-limiting beliefs, a mindset training. We're doing maintaining motivation with your nutrition with our team registered dietitians. We're doing introduction to mindful eating with our mindful eating and coach Mel, who's also a licensed therapist and eating disorder specialist. We're also teaching strength training fundamentals. And then we're also going to be announcing winners at the end, because the winner does receive 3 months of one-on-one coaching. We have prizes for first, second, third place prizes and weekly raffles. Most importantly, it's realistic lifestyle change, and it is health beyond the scale. That's really what you're getting in our challenge. Okay. One last thing here. Another example, Jamie has done a couple of our challenges. She's lost 20 pounds with the help of our challenges. Okay. Just like you, maybe you've been confused. She wasn't able to figure it out. But like she said here, okay, she's incredibly grateful to have found our program as she's completed 2 challenges. She then joined our strength training program after that. And one of the most valuable lessons she had learned is that all foods are acceptable, okay? That's what we're talking about with the food freedom and the mindful eating. So over the course of 20 months, you can see, or 20 pounds, you can see actually here where she had done like her first challenge with us, because this is where we were asking her to put weight loss at the back burner while doing our challenge. And then look at that. She completed our challenges and the fucking fat just started melting off of her, because she had the foundations and the skills that she needed to successfully lose fat, because she did the required work to sustainably lose fat long-term. And that's what we are here to help you do. Okay. Having said that, if you want to join, comment below. Okay, we have 10 spots available. You just comment challenge in the chat here or in the Facebook group after, or just let one of us know, and we'll hook you up with a 10% discount to join. Like I said earlier in this group, this was going to be an exclusive training for you all, so we want to reward you for that, and we want to get you guys the things that you need. So we're going to hook you up with a badass discount. Just here another example of somebody else that had found great results from our challenges here. So having said that, what questions do you guys have? Let's do 5 to 10 minutes of questions. I understand we said this is going to be an hour. If you need to drop off, totally cool, but I'm here to answer some questions here for a few minutes. So let's have at it. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Let's see here. Do we have any questions ready to go, Jess?
No questions so far from anybody.
Okay. Well, Amber raised her hand, so let's make sure we reach out to Amber to get her information for the challenge. Let's do a takeaway here. Okay, Dawn has a question.
Yeah, I have been on this journey for a little over 2 years, and I'm wondering if I should adjust like how do you decide if you need to adjust your calories or your protein intake based on, I've kind of plateaued. I've lost a couple pounds like within this last month. I mean, is it normal to maybe adjust every 6 months, or depending on like your weight, the weight you've lost, your activity?
Yeah, for sure. Because your body, like I said earlier, your body adapts and adjusts to you losing weight. So, like you said, there's no X amount of time that you need to evaluate. Just essentially, if we're taking the low and slow approach, you probably won't need to reevaluate it as often. But if you do lose a significant amount of body fat and body weight, you will need to kind of adjust things at some point. When that is, we can't say. Just when things have kind of plateaued for at least 30 days. And when I say plateau, I mean, you're not seeing any type of progress whatsoever with your body measurements, with your body weight, whatever metrics you're using to measure progress, essentially. And then, and only if you're sure that you're 80% consistent, at least with everything you need to be doing. Because that's one thing I know, Dawn, you are, but I know a lot of times people will try to cut their calories, or I'm in a plateau, but then we look and they're just not being consistent. And maybe one of the reasons why they're not able to be consistent, we see this a lot with nutrition, why they can't be consistent with nutrition is because they're not eating enough food consistently. So, if you're not able to be consistent, this for anybody with your nutrition currently, look at how much food you're eating. Okay. Less is not better. Better is better. Okay. So you can eat more food and still lose fat, and that's going to be better long-term. Great question, Dawn. And of course, those are things we can. You're in the challenge with us, Dawn. Those are things we can dive into the challenge with you, especially with our team dietitians leading the challenge for us. So
I think changing up my workout plan as well, because I'm rotating out of the gym HIIT classes
Yeah.
to Fit Fat Strong. I've been doing that. I think that's going to make a difference as well.
yeah, like we talked about the other. Yeah, for sure. Absolutely, Dawn.
So, all
Cool.
right, thank you.
You're welcome. Do we have any other questions, guys? And there's no bad question. The only bad question is a question that you did not ask. Okay.
Lori has a question in the chat. She said, as a lifelong dieter, I've become under-muscled. Now I'm trying to build muscle. Is it reasonable to still plan some fat loss phases from time to time, or focus on building totally for a time?
Yeah, absolutely. It just depends, right? Like, how under-muscled are you? Where you want to get with your strength and muscle again? How long have you been dieting and things like that? I just posted a really good thing on my Instagram story about a coworker, colleague, Melissa Olnick. She's got a PhD, and her whole thing is like why women need to just take 1 year off of dieting, right? And it's a lot of these reasons. I'm not saying you need to take a year, but yeah, at least 6 months. I usually recommend to stop kind of dieting and work on improving your habits, your foundations, building up a stronger, healthier body, and then being more intentional with the fat loss phase. Yeah. And of course, Lori, I know you, we're gonna be working a little bit closer. So yeah. Great question, Lori. Any other questions? If not, if there's no other questions, let's do a roundtable. Drop one thing that you learned either here in the chat, or if you want to talk on video, I welcome that too. So one thing we've learned here from this training. Who would like to go first? There's a lot of us, so I'm not going to pick on everybody, but Cheryl.
I never heard of the hunger hormones before.
Okay.
The leptin and ghrelin. So that's new for me.
Nice.
I'll flag in our chat, Cheryl. I've done a whole talk on this before a little while ago. It's in the Lifestyle Hub. So if you want to learn a little bit more, I got you.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's the other thing. When you join our challenge, you get access to all of our resources for our one-on-one training clients that we've been compiling for like 5 years now. So there's thousands of hours of training videos like this, templates, worksheets, journals, and things like that inside of our portal as well. That was a great question. Crystal said, if anyone is on the fence about the challenge, do it. The community and coaches are amazing and so supportive. Thank you, Crystal, and everybody else nodding your head right now. We appreciate that. Stephanie, did you want to start?
I really liked when you said exercising is a tool,
Mhm.
right? Like, it's, for me at least, it's like ingrained. You have to go to the gym. You have to do this much cardio. You have to.
Hmm.
But it's not the beginning. It's a tool in our tool belt to keep on, but nutrition. And I think it's huge, but you don't hear that a lot. It's get to the gym, here's your free gym membership, all of those types of things. So I really appreciated that.
I love that, Stephanie. And this is really what, a health and fitness and fat loss journey is all about, is developing that tool belt. We like to call like an emotional tool belt, a practical tool belt, or a lifestyle tool belt, right? Got all these tools, you know how to use them, you know when to use them, you can pick and choose what you need in any given time. That's really what it's all about, is developing these skills and these tools. Okay, great comment there, Stephanie.
Are you going to say something?
Kelly, go.
Go ahead,
Yep, go ahead, Kelly.
I want to thank Jess for saying that you're a foodie and you love food. Like you explained that. I feel the same way, but in my lifetime, I keep getting told food is just fuel, and that is all it is. It's not for
It's very black and
coping.
white.
It's not for a party. It's not. I'm a foodie. Like I want to see presentation. I want to feel texture. That's me. And I was always made to feel bad about that. So
Mhm.
Yeah.
And Kelly, what you just described there, the texture, the presentation, that's mindful eating, right there.
Mhm.
You just described mindful eating, and that's what we want to get back in touch with.
Yeah, like it's so interesting. Like as humans, thank God, but we are designed to get pleasure from food, right? And it's like it's for other things. Like we use it for celebration. We use it even in grief and in mourning and navigating through things like sadness and all of the spectrum of things as well. Food is often the center of a lot of these very human things that we experience. And so thinking that food is just fuel is absolute bonkers. It's just not true. And so once we actually allow ourselves to open up to creating more joy with food, like even things like with our cooking, are we eating the same things over and over again? Chicken and rice, right? When is the last time we've opened a recipe book and actually cooked a meal where we've enjoyed the process of it? And that can still happen when you're on a fat loss journey as well. So bringing back in that joy of food, if you are a foodie like me as well. Even one thing, just a quick note, one thing I work a lot with people on is emotional eating and things like that. So one of the tools is called food habituation. Basically, it just means eating the same kind of things over and over, so we kind of become desensitized to it. So like ice cream, as an example, I often recommend having a bowl of ice cream every single night so you become desensitized to the ice cream. It goes from being, oh my God, ice cream, I shouldn't have it in the house, what the hell is it doing there, to, oh, ice cream. Do I want ice cream? Do I not want ice cream? If you're a foodie, one thing I recommend is actually paying attention to the presentation of that ice cream. Actually scooping it out properly, adding some flakes to it, making it look pretty, adding some berries to it, putting it in a nice dish, things like that. That goes a long way, and it's also a mindful eating practice too. So yeah, that's kind of my quick little addition to that as well. I'll have to stop myself because I could rant about this for ages.
We could. We love talking about mindful eating and having that healthy relationship with food. And these things might seem foreign to you. We're encouraging you to eat the ice cream, right? And we're just like, yeah, emotionally eat, go for it. Eat for comfort, go for it. Because what's the alternative? Denying those things? Well, how has that worked out, right? So if we learn how to do these things and have a healthy relationship with it, what's the problem, right?
Yeah.
The food's no longer taboo. Love it. This has been great.
I can honestly tell anyone that's on this call who's new to Jess and Matt that my very first time watching Matt was one of those ones where he said something like, if you have something like, we'll say M&Ms, and if I brought M&Ms into the house, I'm just using them, I would eat the whole bag within a day or two because I'd be, and he was like, bring them in, have an M, have whatever it was, just like he just said. And I was like, I'm going to prove this guy wrong. He's like absolutely snonkers. There's no freaking way. Well, yeah, it worked.
Was I wrong?
You were right.
Yeah.
I was in shock that I literally still have Carmelos in this house since I think Halloween. Like
Mhm.
that never ever happened before.
So what we just described there as exposure therapy is what there's a term for it.
Yeah.
And it works really well. And it works. All of our clients right now are shaking their head. So
Yeah,
it works
majority
really
do it. Like the amount of times I get like several odd looks when I tell people to eat ice cream every day. They're like, Jess, that is so completely crazy. I'm on a fat loss journey. I cannot be eating ice cream. What's wrong with you? And when they do it, and then ice cream no longer has that power over them, or chocolate, or whatever the hell it is, Reese's peanut butter cups as well, any of these things, it's freeing. And that's really what that food freedom is giving you back the choice. So
And if we think about it, I made a post on this on Facebook last week. But telling you to eat the ice cream every day doesn't mean you have to eat the ice cream every day. It means giving yourself the option and the choice, guilt-free, shame-free, and then making the best choice for you, right? When we take that guilt and give ourselves that food freedom, the ice cream's just ice cream. It's just there.
Mm-hmm.
And it tastes really good, and that's
Really
okay.
good. Yeah, absolutely. We want to take the morality out of food is what we're looking to do if we're looking to improve our health, our relationship and habits with food. This has been great. This has been great. Thank you, Kel, for that, and Stephanie for the great question, Don for the great question, everybody for participating. This has been great. So we're going to go ahead and wrap things up and end things up here. I know, Amber, you had raised your hand that you're interested. And for anybody watching, just go ahead and comment again or send us a message, the replay, and we'll get you all the information sent out, okay? We start Monday, so don't wait. We literally are going to take 10 more people. We keep our groups very, very small due to the nature of how we do things. We're very hands-on with everybody. There's not going to be hundreds of people in our groups like there are in other challenges. You're getting the attention from all 4 of us coaches, okay?
Yeah, and between myself and Liz, we're personally doing your habits, programming them for you individually. Same with the nutrition, same with the movement, all of that. So there's no robots doing it for us. God, it'd be nice if there was. I'm joking. There's not. We're doing it all manually. And so, yeah, we're currently working on that to kick off on Monday.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's been a great call, everybody. Really excited for this. Thank you all for your time on this Friday afternoon. I know a lot of you are in the challenge already, so we'll be seeing you on the kickoff call on Monday.
Yay.
Thank you.
Thank
See you all
you.
then. Have a great weekend,
Thanks,
everybody.
guys.
Bye.
Everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.